Welcome to Rocky Top Wrestling. Welcome to Rocky Top Wrestling. This is the Drunken Wrestling Review, starring NWA Bobby Mack. You know, I'm still waiting for somebody to give me that recording contract. I'm really excited about it. One day, that's my dream. Someday, I will be. I don't know, not a singer. But anyway, welcome to Rocky Top Wrestling Drunken Wrestling Review. This is NWA Bobby Mack here hosting this week's episode. You know, I'm looking at WrestleMania 32. Why? Because it doesn't seem like the WWE is very focused on WrestleMania 31. It seems like 32 is the big focus. That's the WrestleMania they want you to look at. They're aiming in Dallas to beat the WrestleMania 3 record of 93,000 people. This will be a very interesting record to try to beat. Of course, everybody remembers WrestleMania 3, the two matches I think everybody remembers from WrestleMania 3. Of course, the headliner, the one that sold the event, Hulk Hogan versus Andre the Giant with Bobby the Brain Heenan as his manager for the WWF World Heavyweight Championship. And then the match that stole the show, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat with George the Animal Steele against the Macho Man, that's right, the Hall of Famer, going in this year, Randy Savage, and his manager Elizabeth, as they defended the Intercontinental Championship against Ricky Steamboat unsuccessfully. And we talk about WrestleMania 32 coming up. The WWE's goal, beat the record. Beat the record. There was a record that was beat last year with The Undertaker. This record has stood even longer. This record is the record of WrestleMania 3, 93,000 people in the Silverdome in Pontiac, Michigan. So let's talk about beating the record, because back then, WrestleMania 3, it was professional wrestling. Professional wrestlers. Now, in 2015, you have sports entertainers. So really, McMahon, the WWE, is looking to take sports entertainment to the next level. You know, it was one thing in 1987 for WrestleMania 3 that they took professional wrestling to that next level, took it up to that 93,000 plus for the record. But now they're trying to do something different. They're trying to take sports entertainment there. And do they have the performers to do it is the biggest question. You know, John Cena, yes. Triple H, yes. Sting to a lesser degree, yes. Undertaker to a lesser degree as he's on the very, very decline of his career. He could still maybe draw a little bit. Who else do you have veteran-wise? Kane, Big Show. Are they going to draw 93,000 people? No, they're not. Brock Lesnar, could he draw 93,000 people? Possibly, but is he even going to be there? You know, what's WWE going to do? How are they going to draw 93,000 people? Because when you look at this, and I say 93,000, the goal to sell out Dallas Stadium is over 100,000 people. That's 7,000 plus whatever the, I don't even know what the final number is supposed to be for Dallas, but that's at least 7,000 people more than they want for WrestleMania 3's record. You know, we look at WrestleMania 3, we look at some of the matches. You know, I don't know if anybody realizes this. There was 12 matches on that WrestleMania 3 card. 12 matches. None of them went longer than 15 minutes. Actually, the longest match of the entire night was the Steamboat and Savage match, and that went 14 minutes and 35 seconds. I don't know that by heart, I promise you. I'm looking it up at Wikipedia. But that, the main event was 12 minutes and 1 second. Don't forget the 1 second. But it's amazing though, because you look at WrestleMania 3, you look at the people that were involved, you look that it was still all the territory guys that were coming in together at WWF to do this. It was still special because of that. The The first match we'll look at Can-Am Connection, Rick Martel and Tom Zink versus Bob Orton and Magnificent Morocco. Obviously, Morocco was a well-established star here at WWF. So was Bob Orton at this point in time. He had a lot of roots in the NWA before this, but by this point he'd been in WrestleMania 1. He was in the corner of Roddy Piper for the main event against Hogan and Mr. T. He was also in Piper's corner for the main event that he had at the 3 main events of WrestleMania 2 in the boxing match against Mr. T again. So this was a big thing for Orton. So you had Rick Martel, who was pretty fresh into the WWF straight from the AWA as a former AWA World Heavyweight Champion, and Tom Zink, who was kind of a journeyman and still was a journeyman, but still, two good-looking guys that were in there against, these 2 veterans, 2 established WWF guys, and not to mention Mr. Fuji, who's outside the ring as well. You had the next match, you had Billy Jack Haynes, established guy from Oregon. So, here you are, you're reaching, you've got already an AWA guy. So that's got Minnesota. Now you've got Billy Jack Haynes, who's Oregon. So you've got the West Coast involved there. He faces Hercules Hernandez. Hernandez, an established star here in the Northeast with WWF. Magnificent Morocco, look at his value in Hawaii. So I know I'm kind of skipping all around, but look at where you're looking at right now. Then you got Bob Orton, Kansas territory. So right now in the first 2 matches, you've got 4 different states, 4 different involvements with those guys. The next match, the gimmick match of the night, you got Hillbilly Jim. So there's your Kentucky crowd, if you really want to call that, because Hillbilly was a homegrown WWF guy. Haiti Kid, Little Beaver versus King Kong Bundy, Little Tokyo, Lord Littlebrook. So there you've got your gimmick match, you've got your midget match. That draws people as well. Next match, Harley Race, NWA World Heavyweight Champion, 7-time NWA World Heavyweight Champion. Had the record before Ric Flair beat it and surpassed it by doubling it. But anyway, Harley Race is there, so that way you've got the entire South, the entire NWA South, Jim Crockett Promotions, Mid-Atlantic region, supporting Harley Race, as well as all the way out to Kansas City with Harley Race versus the Junkyard Dog. So there you've got more of the South. New Orleans area with Junkyard Dog coming from the UWF. So you look at where you've got now. So now you've got the Northeast, you've got the South, you've got the West Coast, and you've got middle North with Minnesota. Next off, then you throw in the Dream Team of Greg Valentine, Bruce Beefcake, with Johnny Valiant and Dino Bravo versus the Rougeau brothers. So now you're drawing a Canadian audience in there, along with Beefcake, who's got a long history on the West Coast, as well as Valiant. Valentine's got the big draw again with the South, with the NWA. Next match, you got Piper and Adonis. So you got Roddy Piper, who's at this point worldwide known because of the MTV and Rock and Wrestling connection. Adrian Adonis, who's fresh out of the AWA. Next match, you got the Hart Foundation versus the British Bulldogs, so you've got more of a Canadian draw there. Tito Santana's involved in that match, so you've got his fans from the basically from the WWF region as well. The next match, Butch Reed versus Coco Beware, so you draw again from that New Orleans area where JYD was from, the UWF area for Butch Reed and Coco. Next match, you got Ricky Steamboat, a true NWA star, versus Randy Savage, a true WWF star, but also a lot of background in Tennessee. So now you're drawing another area to you. Honky Tonk Man against Jake Roberts. You're drawing again the Tennessee region, and I'm not talking about just kayfabe where they're from, but this is actually where they grew up in their territories. Honky Tonk Man, of course, being the cousin of Jerry Lawler. A lot of history right there. Jake the Snake coming from the South as well. Then you got the Sheik and Volkov versus Killer Bees. That's kind of your throwaway match here. But at the same time, Sheik and Volkov still had a little bit of a following in the WWF. Killer Bees with Jim Brunzell. He's got that Minnesota background. And B. Brian Blair, he's got a Tennessee background as well. So you got all these factors. Then you got, of course, Hogan and Andre, 2 established stars, WWF. That's how WrestleMania 3 did 93,000 people. They had stars from every area of the country and brought them together for this one big event in the Pontiac Silverdome to have 93,000 people. Was it sports entertainment? Yeah, it was a little bit. There was definitely a lot of pageantry there. Definitely celebrities there. Of course, the big draw, Hogan versus Andre. The WrestleMania 3 atmosphere was huge. It was actually, as a kid, I remember it was the first time that I ever saw that wrestling was featured on the regular sportscasts. They actually talked about Hogan and Andre on the regular sportscast in the newspaper the next day, and I still have some cutouts of that. They actually had WrestleMania 3 covered in the newspaper. So, it was that big of a deal. WrestleMania 1 put WWF on the map. WrestleMania 2 was just like, whatever. But WrestleMania 3 is what really got the ball rolling for professional wrestling and where it was going. Now, what are they going to do at WrestleMania 32? Because as a fan, I like what they've done this past year, but could I say that I know 100,000 other people that like it? Can I say it was even as... Like, right now, it's not even as big as the Attitude Era. WrestleMania 3 was pretty big, and I think people don't realize how big it was. When you got Hulk Hogan's Rockin' Wrestling cartoon every Saturday morning. And believe me, guys, people that don't know, Saturday mornings were about cartoons. Like today, I don't even know if they have cartoons on Saturday mornings. Last time I watched anything on Saturday mornings was Saved by the Bell, and that was 15 years ago. Probably, maybe even more. So I don't even know what the deal, but on Saturday mornings, that was for us. That was for kids at that point in time. And to have Hulk Hogan's Rockin' Wrestling on there, that was big. I talk about that a little bit on blogs and stuff, but Tito Santana, Mr. Fuji, Big John Studd, I'm trying to think of some other people that were on that show, Wendy Richter, Fabulous Moolah, Junkyard, I wouldn't say Junkyard Dog's in this group, but Nikolai Volkov, Iron Sheik, those guys in that group that I just mentioned, Sheik won the world championship, but the rest of them really didn't do all that much in their careers. Yes, Moolah was the champion for 26 years or whatever, but how over was she really? Because, it's ladies wrestling. Wendy Richter was a women's champion, but how over was she really for an extended amount of time? I know she was pretty big at one point, but, without that cartoon, would we even remember John Studd? Honestly, I think about that. Would I really remember Nikolai Volkov other than, the couple, gimmicks that he ran that, it just... He was usually, a talent enhancement guy majority of his career, or he went against talent enhancement guys that's your popcorn match. That's when you went out and you got your food or your snacks, or you went out and went to the bathroom. They weren't big draws when it actually came to fans, but that cartoon really made them bigger than life. And I think that's what helped WrestleMania 3 make it bigger than life, make it a must-see event, was, part of that. This was right then, part of that WWF expansion. I don't understand, or I don't comprehend yet how WWF plans on doing this with their current crop of stars. Yes, you have some very talented people in NXT. You have some very talented people in WWF. You have very talented sports entertainers, entertainers, whatever that means, entertainers. But the spot fests isn't the same as watching, Billy Jack Haynes and Hercules Hernandez, who only had a 7-minute match. Two big men, but they had a little bit of psychology in there. You can watch that match and appreciate for what it was. There's some psychology. Harley Race versus the Junkyard Dog was only a 3-minute match. But the psychology and the build-up was so good that you wanted to watch it. You had to watch it because you had the former NWA World Heavyweight Champion Harley Race against this big guy from the UWF from New Orleans that had a huge following before coming to WWF and actually rivaled Hulk Hogan's following, a lot of people would say, in the WWF, was Junkyard Dog. And I think Junkyard Dog's popularity, as big as it was in New Orleans in the UWF, it really got huge thanks to the Hulk Hogan's Rock and Wrestling cartoon. And this event features a lot of guys that were in that. And this event at WrestleMania 3, this is the end all be all professional wrestling. When it came to this was the end of the territories. This was the end of that. This is what really put everybody else out of business, was WrestleMania 3. So how is WWF going to match that? How are they going to take these NXT stars, which again I say are very talented, and add that personality to it, add that background to it, to where fans from all over the world are going to want to still come and see this thing? And I'm not just saying 80,000 fans. I'm not just saying 70,000 fans at MetLife Stadium or whatever. Actually, I think we hit 80,000. But how is WrestleMania going to do that? It's actually, I'm looking right here at the statistics. So WrestleMania 3 ranks as the highest attended event in WWE history, ahead of 80,676 who went to WrestleMania 29. I was there at MetLife Stadium. And 80,355 at SummerSlam 1992. So WrestleMania is trying to do this, and WrestleMania 32 is going to try to get 20 more thousand people than WrestleMania 29 in New York. In New York, the second most visited spot in the United States, behind Orlando, is going to try to get 20,000 more people to go to Dallas, Texas for WrestleMania 32. Okay? Before that one, you got the 80,000 at SummerSlam in Wembley Stadium. So this is going to be tough. I do not see this event going over very well without the involvement of stars from the past. Steve Austin has to wrestle. The Rock is going to have to wrestle. There's going to have to be a lot of special attractions to bring the fans back. Is it Hulk Hogan that you want to bring back and make a special attraction? No, because they're starting to overexpose Hogan. They overexpose Flair. They overexpose so many guys. They need to start holding these guys off, because if they want to make WrestleMania 32 big, if they want to make it the event that everybody's going to come want to see, they need to start holding these guys off, because they've got to make it special. So hopefully they're doing something with these Stone Cold podcasts, maybe where they're building some kind of feud up with somebody, or somebody's going to come on there and talk too much smack. Maybe CM Punk comes around. Can he draw 100,000 people? No. But maybe Stone Cold versus CM Punk could come close. Maybe Rock versus Brock could come close. Maybe Cena Rock 3 would come close. I don't know. But WrestleMania 32 is going to be a very interesting time for the WWE, as they're going to try to fill that stadium with over 100,000 people. That's my thoughts on WrestleMania 32, comparing it to the big one, WrestleMania 3. We'll be right back, and with a special interview with the young gun, Cody Isis. This is Cody, young Cody Ices, young Cody. Bobby's taking a lead. Hello, wrestling fans. This is the young gun Cody Ices. You probably remember me from Bobby's last 5, 6, 7, 8 telecast. Bobby's in the middle of taking a leak in the bathroom while I am in the middle of doing a podcast, folks. Good to see you. This is the first time that I have introduced a podcast myself. When Bobby gets back, we will have some questions for NWA Bobby Mack regarding the wrestling industry. Now, I'm going to tell you flat out, Bobby McElrath, great guy, good friend, not that knowledgeable on the wrestling business.
He does understand wrestling from a fan standpoint, but he is not that smart when it comes to wrestling. We've talked about many subjects after the last couple of weeks. I did just call you. Hey, your fly is unzipped, Bobby. Goodness, I made you look. Uh, but anyway, I do have some questions for Bobby
Just
Mack.
give me a mark.
Bobby Mack.
All right.
Here we go.
Go.
Favorite wrestler of all time.
Hulk Hogan.
Wrong answer. Correct answer. Young Gun Cody Isis. Bobby Mack. Favorite tag team.
Rock and Roll Express.
Wrong answer. Correct answer. Rhythm and Blues. Favorite match of all time. What is your favorite match?
Magnum TA versus Tully Blanchard in the cage at Starrcade I Quit match.
Wrong answer. Correct answer. Young Gun Cody Isis versus Casey Oxendine. Pro wrestler versus MMA title. Bobby Mack. Favorite title match of all time.
Hogan versus Warrior WrestleMania.
Incorrect, sir. The correct answer was Cody Isis and Hoggy Dog Matt, Rhythm and Booze versus OMF for the rTw Tag Team titles for the Beer Fest. That's my last question.
Oh, well, thank you for the questions there, Cody Isis. Apparently, the beer has kicked in on Rocky Top Wrestling Drunken Wrestling Review.
This is, for the record, this is the only drunken wrestling review we've had. We've been completely sober up until this point.
Cody, we don't know if he has hiccups or if he's burping spontaneously every few minutes. But yeah, it's bad. It's bad. It's bad. It's bad. So, Cody Isis, let's talk about bad. Let's talk about the WWE programming lately. Let's talk about NXT. Let's talk about Raw. Let's talk about SmackDown.
I don't think you can put bad and NXT in the same sentence.
So, what do you feel right now of the WWE program? You've got NXT, you got Raw, and you got SmackDown. Which one's number one, number two, number three, and why?
Well, obviously Raw was going to be number one, SmackDown number two, and NXT number three. However, from a programming standpoint, if NXT was on a network cable television, NXT would far surpass Raw or SmackDown. NXT is fantastic.
All right, so NXT is fantastic. Fantastic.
You got a lot of fat girls texting you right now, Bobby.
I know, apparently. So NXT is fantastic right now. So that would put you as them as being number one. What would you put Raw or SmackDown? Which one's number two and which one's number three?
Well, I mean, Raw number two, SmackDown number three, but I think NXT. I mean, that programming and the stories. I do not watch Raw every week. I make it a point to watch NXT every week. I truly enjoy NXT.
So, what do you think the difference is right now with NXT programming and Raw programming? Like, what separates it to make it a better product for you?
Overexposure. I think NXT, I see them for an hour a week. Every 4 months, I get an NXT special. I have time to actually get emotionally invested in who's who in NXT. I have an investment in every story they have, every Baron Corbin, every Sami Zayn, every Adrian Neville, every Enzo Amore and Big Cass. I love those guys. And all those guys I have an emotional connection to. I want to see them. I don't really care if I see Seth Rollins. I can see him every Monday if I want to. I can YouTube him, whatever it is. I don't really care what they do. I have just enough time with the NXT people to see just a little bit of what I want to see, so I want to see more of them.
So, what you really feel like, I guess Triple H is doing NXT right now. He has his finger securely on the button of what wrestling.
Her name is Stephanie.
um, securely on the button of Stephanie.
of what wrestling fans want. Do you feel like Raw or SmackDown? Do you feel like they're too commercial? Like, are they looking too much for the sports entertainment aspect that NXT doesn't look for? Like, what's the difference between NXT and Raw or SmackDown? Like, what exactly is it that separates the two?
I can't tell you the first thing about SmackDown because I haven't watched SmackDown in a very long time. I have no desire to watch SmackDown. I've got Hulu, I've got the WWE Network, I got everything. I can watch SmackDown anytime I want, and I choose not to. It's just not that important a programming to me. I'll usually watch the 90-minute replay of Raw. It's the same old stuff. You see, John Cena, Brock Lesnar, Seth Rollins, Dean Ambrose, Bray Wyatt, which I like those guys, and I like seeing those guys at WrestleMania and stuff like that. NXT, I'm exposed to some new, and I get that emotional investment from NXT that I don't get from Raw or SmackDown. I see some phenomenal matches on NXT. I get exposed to stuff I hadn't seen. I've never been a Ring of Honor mark. I've never been a New Japan mark. I get to see these guys that I've really only heard about, and some guys I've not even heard about, but I care about them. Like, they just had the Baron Corbin versus Bull Dempsey match on the first Wednesday night of NXT. I kind of cared about it. I wanted to see what the outcome was. They build to better blow-offs. They build to better matches on NXT.
All right, good call and all that. So I got a question for you. When it comes to insider terms, we talked about a little bit of that earlier. We talked about rats. We talked about kayfabe. Talked about heels. We talked about baby faces. What insider term do you feel that is overused now with the marks in pro wrestling?
Mark. That term is ridiculous. The term mark means, somebody that's buying a ticket. And I think mark is used in a derogatory term. Oh, those stupid marks. Well, if you're a professional wrestler, those stupid marks are paying your bills. I think there's a lot of disrespect when it comes to the wrestling fan, and you always have a tendency to think, "Oh, that fan's stupid." No, that fan's paying their $8, $9, $10, $12 to watch you perform. Marks aren't stupid. Marks are paying for a ticket. Marks are paying to come see you, come see the main event, whatever. I hate the term mark. I absolutely hate it. I hate it even worse when you're in the locker room with a guy who should be a mark and is using the term mark.
Good call, and we'll be right back with Cody Isis, the young gun, tells us more about professional wrestling here on Rocky Top Wrestling Drunken Wrestling Review.
That's right. We hope to have more with Cody Isis very soon. We appreciate everybody tuning in this week to Rocky Top Wrestling Drunken Wrestling Review. We know we got a little weird and off subject and everything else. WrestleMania 32 and WrestleMania 31's not even here yet. We're looking forward to the new pay-per-view coming up this Sunday, Fastlane, to WrestleMania 31. So everybody, thanks again for listening to Rocky Top Wrestling Drunken Wrestling Review. Please remember to follow us on the Twitter, also on Facebook, and as well right here on our YouTube channel. We need some subscriptions, some subscribers. Please subscribe right away to Rocky Top Wrestling Drunken Wrestling Review. We'll hear from you. We'll see you next week.